That's another thing. We talk about how this offseason is going to be so crazy because so many players are free agents. Well, if you're one of these teams that wants to run things back, not only are these contracts guaranteed, there's no guarantee that a free agent is going to want to come back and run things back, but also if you can't protect these players, there's no guarantee that they're going to be coming back or they won't be vulnerable in the expansion draft. So it just adds to all of the silly season that is this WNBA offseason. Let's touch on the Liberty. Because I know that this season fell short of expectations, lofty expectations for this Liberty team that wanted to run things back and go back-to-back and win another championship. And obviously, the injury bug bites, and there's just nothing that you can really do when Jonquel Jones goes down with an injury, when Sabrina gets bitten by the injury bug, when Stewie gets bitten by the injury bug. But when you have those big three, JJ, Stewie, Sabrina, run it back. Keep going back, because as long as you have those three intact, Ice, you are, in championship contention. Obviously, no Sandy Brindello. They don't extend her contract. There'll be a new coach coming into New York, but run it back with the Liberty. Why not?
Yeah, and I'll add one more person to that. Natasha Cloud. You're not winning a championship without a good point guard. She to me, by far, is one of the best defenders in the league from the point guard position. And her scoring in double figures, 5 assists this season, she bought into the system and knew that she had great players around her. I definitely say you want to keep that core. There's something scary about Sab and JJ and Stewie coming on the floor together. I don't know who would bet against that. At the same time, this will be one of the teams that will not look the same next year. They will not. It's impossible that this team will look the same next year. 2 expansion teams out of the 4 names that I just mentioned. That does not include a Leonie Phoebish. That does not include a Isabel Harrison. That does not include a Niara Sabli, who spent a lot of time this season injured. That does not include a name that I'm adding to a list from another team, Kennedy Burke, who I am big on. Maureen Johannes. I'm not trying to be funny. Probably 6 out of 7 of those names won't be there. Won't be there. Yeah, Cass. Yeah.
Much like last year, that's what we were all talking about going into that Golden State expansion draft was who do you choose from the Liberty? It's like an embarrassment of riches in who you could choose. And we saw that Kayla Thornton left, and that definitely impacted the Liberty. So 2 of those players that you mentioned are probably gone in the expansion draft at minimum because you're not going to be able to protect everyone. And I'm going to throw in another name. I think going without Benijah Laney-Hamilton was huge for the Liberty this year. So you have to bring her back into the fold. Do you protect her? Do you leave her unprotected? So many questions. Also, I think to your point about this team is going to have to look different. Jonathan Kolb basically said that in his exit interview. He was talking about, he kind of mentioned a few times, mostly it was about Sandy, but he mentioned, kind of the league is passing us by. He didn't like their 3-point rate. He didn't like their free throw rate. And he was talking about, he was kind of asked about Sabrina Ionescu and guards who would pair well with her. Maybe some people felt like that Natasha Cloud pairing wasn't going as well as they would hope for Sabrina. But one thing he said, direct quote, kind of mulling about, is it time for Sab to be the one and finding a partner for her going forward? So maybe that backcourt looks different next year. I know Ice doesn't like it.
Yeah, I don't. Can you tell? I don't know. One, I love that you called out Benijah. That was the next note on my side was yes. Getting Benijah Laney-Hamilton back will be huge for them. You could tell that defensively, she saved more lives than 2 on that court at all times when she was on the floor, which is why I believe that the other 2 guards that they put around Sab for the majority of the time have to be great defenders. They have to have good size because those are 2 areas that Sab does not have, right? And schematically, defensively, she's a smart player, so you can hide her in certain ways, but this is WNBA, baby. Everybody is attacking you and finding a way to attack you if they want to. That's what they're going to do. I don't know how I feel about the Natasha Cloud pairing. I thought her 3-point shot grew as the season went. She became more confident in that. And so when her and Sab were playing, they stretched the floor more. I thought that she was obviously a willing passer and willing to set people up. I continue to think that they undervalue Jonquel Jones. I'm just not freaking sure what happens when they just decide. It's like they get to a certain point in the game, they're like, yeah, we're just not going to use JJ. We're just not going to use the 6'6" skyscraper.
Probably has the most points of any Liberty player in the first quarter and then never again. Also, we'll throw in JJ did have surgery. She shared that on her Instagram story. So clearly she was dealing with something.
Yeah. But whether she was injured and they weren't using her, she was. And then I'll say this too, like you looking at the entire season last year, to me, it's a bad season to look at in terms of Sabrina Ionescu because so many players were injured. She had to change and adapt so much. It was an abnormal amount of, to me, pressure and work that Sab had to do, that you also want to bring people around her that makes her life easier. Like, in order for Sab to be the one, that doesn't mean she should be doing more work. That's not exactly what that means. And I feel like maybe in that statement, that's what he was alluding to. I also will say, Breanna Stewart, it's like me saying this against LeBron almost, but I don't know how many more great years we have of Stewie. Stewie has logged a ton of basketball miles. It's the same conversation with the Kayla McBride. And because of how Stewie plays both sides of the basketball, all defensive teams year after year, her body is constantly on the line. She takes more hits than a guard like a Kayla McBride. And so we also saw this year some of the injuries and in and out, and obviously games that she sat for significant time trying to get her body right. I think there's multiple things to think about if you're New York, other than the plethora of guards that are going to be gone off the roster through expansion drafts. But this team will not look the same next year. It'd be interesting to see what they choose.
So of the big three, let's just say there's a world where they could only protect one. Like, I'm not saying that that's going to be the case, but let's say there is a world where the Liberty can only protect one of Jonquel Jones, Sabrina Ionescu, or Breanna Stewart.
Yeah, Cass, what you saying?
Who should they prioritize?
Oh, thanks, Ice.
Such a good teammate.
My gut says JJ, but I'm actually going to go Sabrina because this is their first ever #1 draft pick. That means something to them, to the city of New York. She has bought into that. Like, if internally she is still really buying into that, I protect her, and they do have core designations if those are still alive under the new CBA. So to core her means something in terms of her importance to a franchise.
And she's a celebrity. Like, outside of the W, she was a College Game Day guest picker. She was doing interviews at the Super Bowl. Like, whatever that means to you, I do think that's valuable to a franchise, especially a franchise like the New York Liberty Ice.
I agree. I think if Stewie was 2 years younger, I'd say Stewie and wouldn't even thought about it.
It's the age for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And just watching Breanna Stewart's game, and obviously huge fan, love Stewie personally and professionally. You can just tell that she has logged a lot of miles, and that the same that we saw, required of her to win a championship last year, or the 2 that she won in Seattle, it just can't look like that. She will absolutely be a part of championship caliber teams for the rest of her career. I have no doubt about that. But what's required of her to do that is going to change, I believe, moving forward.
Could you make the argument for Jonquel Jones? What would the argument for JJ be?
There's no other 6'6" big in the league that can also shoot 45% from the 3, that can score double-double inside. Like, it's just nobody else like JJ. I'm yelling because I'm upset that New York, just for some, I believe, has not, that thing hasn't clicked. Even her winning finals MVP, not this season, but obviously the season before, it was almost like they had tried every other way, Cass. Like, they had tried everything else. And then it was like, hey, okay, we're just going to have to throw it to JJ, guys, if we want to win. And then she becomes the finals MVP, and the rest of us are like, duh.
Like, it pains them to do it.
I'm sorry. We just have to. And listen, I hear you. You're going from Sab to Stewie to JJ. Like, the ball is touching great hands. But it felt like she was the last option. So to me, I just think with the way in which it has seemed like from a basketball standpoint, and that maybe could not be front office. I blame the front office for it, but it easily could be blamed on the players not throwing the ball. Who knows? Maybe that's why Sandy Brondello was out of there, because they were built on JJ, but they felt like she wasn't being used as much. I don't know. But I tell you what, you don't protect JJ or you don't show her that she's valuable, any other team would pick her up in a heartbeat. Any other team would acknowledge the magic that JJ can bring to your roster.
It's a league of front court stars. That's all you need to say.
Yeah. Again, the only 6'6" person that's shooting 40% from three. I'm sorry, but I just can't say that enough. There's nobody jumping out there and blocking that.
Almost won the 3-point competition a couple years ago.
True.
People outside the WNBA thought that was like a funny little haha joke. And I was like, nah, she's going to win.
No. Sniper out here.
How difficult this conversation is just adds like credibility to the fact that the Liberty just need to run it back. Like if we can make a strong argument, the only argument against, Brianna Stewart being the one that you would protect is just age and miles on her body, even though she is playing at still at an incredibly high level. Like that just adds credence to the fact that Liberty run things back. And I will not defend anybody who says that moving on from Sandy Brandela was a good thing. But last team that can just run it back, do exactly what you did this past year is the Indiana Fever. I mean, I think that the Indiana Fever probably have the clearest path to doing that, to running it back, since their two, foundational players in Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark are still on rookie deals. But I think Kelsey Mitchell is priority number one to bring back. Like she was the heart and soul of this Fever team this past year. Lexi Hull, I would add too. Like, there are just so many players on this team. And then you can add in the question of Sophie Cunningham, what she means to this team on and off the court. Like, there are so many pieces on this Fever team, Ice, that just feel like foundational pieces that they have no choice but to just sign them all again, run back what you had this past season. If they were able to miss the WNBA finals by a hair with the sheer number of players that they had injured, took the eventual champions to overtime in Game 5 without Kelsey Mitchell, you run that thing back.
Yeah, I would say the belief factor in Indy certainly has to be high. Certainly. I don't see why I wouldn't be. I'll challenge you a little bit here in that it is stylistically, they were a matchup nightmare for teams because of the guards they didn't have playing. I'm not joking. The fact that an Arie McDonald was fast, picked up the pace of their team. You could argue faster than a Sophie Cunningham towards the end of the season. The veteran leadership and bucket getter in Odyssey Sims also blended well with Kelsey Mitchell. The younger players that came off the bench that were athletic, KK Timpson, helped with that squad. It's going to look different. Their system is going to look different when you now insert back again Caitlin Clark, who we want and hope is healthy. When you insert back again Sophie Cunningham, the system is different because some of those players won't be allowed either, one, to play or be on the team, but two, the style is going to be a little different. So I say that like down the stretch, the players that they had were the X factor because stylistically they were just a bad matchup for the two teams that they saw in the playoffs. And that's the reason they advanced. I'm not sure, Cass. Maybe you tell me, like, in terms of the that four position, Natasha Howard, Demir Stantis, KK Timpson, like, where do they go? Is that
I'm getting journalistically grilled by Ice today.
Sorry. I got to pick your brain, but I want to know.
See.
Yeah, to me, like, their four position is where I have a question mark. Every other position, I think they have a starter and a backup that is suffice.
I would agree. I am excited for what this team was supposed to be. You're right. Not every single player can come back. If you look at their roster on Her Hoop Stats, you got to scroll. That's not going to work. The four is definitely the question. Listen, Natasha Howard has incredible moments. She's clearly close to the organization. Like it means something to her. Sometimes though, when you're watching games, she'll do something amazing. And then the other end, you're just kind of like, Tosh, what are you doing? I think if they're going to do anything, it's that spot right there. I think also when you're looking at the Fever, like someone had mentioned like pride and like kind of touched on chemistry earlier. when you're talking about Caitlin Clark, like those Iowa teams were built on chemistry that they had having played literally 4 years together, like Kate Martin, Gabby Marshall, and Caitlin Clark. And I think for a player like Caitlin, that's really important. And we heard this from Chelsea Gray a little bit in the finals when she was asked about kind of building chemistry with new players, Melissa Smith, for example, learning her style of passes. I think the longer you can keep all of these players together is really, really important. So Lexi Hall, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson will be a veteran leader there. I do wonder, though, can you upgrade at the Natasha Howard spot?
Yeah. Also, in the expansion draft, the 3 out of the last 5 players you name won't be there. Like, I don't, if you can protect, worst case scenarios, you can protect 4. Best case scenarios, you protect 6. I don't really see how 6 is possible if we're adding 2 teams.
Yeah.
I just don't see how, mathematically speaking, that makes sense. So if you're the Fever, some of the players that we talked about that bought into the system and that showed what they can do, I don't know if you can protect them. Can you protect, like let's look at it, right? Like, Can you protect Lexi and Sophie and Sydney Colson?
Because bare minimum, Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston, not going anywhere.
Quick question on that, though, Cass. Forgive my ignorance. Is every player on a rookie deal automatically protected in the expansion draft?
No.
Okay, so anyone is vulnerable.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
You got to protect.
Yes.
You got to say you want them. It's like playing pickup.
Chaos.
I got you. You here before somebody else says it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spicy.
So Ice is 100% correct. Like the Fever are also in that situation where very difficult decisions are going to be made because you mentioned Michaela Timpson. She played really well at the end of the season and I think can rim run really well with Caitlin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so those are the 3 teams that we think could keep the same formula, run that thing back. The Atlanta Dream, the New York Liberty, the Indiana Fever, and of course the Vegas Aces can be in that conversation as well. As long as you have the best player in the world on your team in Asia Wilson, you will be in that championship conversation.
They can play whoever they want.
Yeah.
Becky Hammond will make it work. Put that in your video, guys.
Yeah. Look, Las Vegas Aces, you can cold take us all you want. At the time, we weren't wrong, okay? And now we're also not wrong in saying that you could literally play whoever you want, all right? You told us. We've been told.